fancy math peoples. Okay, so up to this point I've created videos on long division and prime factoring and all these amazing things. And finding the, common denominator of fractions and the lowest common multiple to find the common denominator of fractions. And now I'm actually going to apply this by doing a couple addition and subtraction problems with fractions. So let's go ahead and start this, and I will show you where all the previous techniques come into play and how they're used. Alright, so the first problem is going to be really simple. Oh, that's not a 1, that's an I. Okay. 1/2 plus 1/4. Now, when you're working with fractions, if you're multiplying or dividing, it doesn't matter one hoot what your denominator, the bottom number, is. It could be anything. It doesn't matter. The hard part with fractions is when you add and subtract fractions. That's when you have to be careful. The denominators have to be the same when you add and subtract. So our first problem, 1/2 plus 1/4, you could either do this in your head. It's actually quite a simple problem, or I'm going to work through it as though I didn't know what the answer was off the top of my head. So I need to find the least common multiple of 2 and 4. And I'm going to use prime factorization because that's what we've been using. And it's really slow doing it on the video, but I'm doing that for people who might not be too savvy with this. So 2 is already prime. I'm going to put it down here. 4, the prime factorization of 4 is 2 times 2. Prime number, once again, is a number that can only be divided by itself in the number 1. And if you remember from my, I think it was called the sadist version of prime factoring or something, you need to find one of these fractions is going to have the most of each number. In this case, 1/4 has the most 2's, so we're going to keep this, and we're going to discard that. And 2 times 2 is 4, so we know the least common multiple of 2 and 4 is indeed 4. That's our common denominator. So this problem is going to equal, we're just going to do an arrow instead. That's going to make more sense instead of equals. We're going to take 1/2, and we have to turn it into something that has 4 on the bottom, because we need to make it into the common denominator form of that fraction. So in order to turn 2 into 4, we have to multiply it by 2. With fractions, whatever you do to the bottom, you must do to the top. So I multiplied 2 times 2, and I got 4. So now I'm going to multiply 1 times 2. I'm going to get 2. So there is the adjusted version of 1/2 that's going to make it possible for us to add 1/2 to 1/4. So now the problem becomes 2/4 plus 1/4. Your denominators are the same, so you're good to go. All you have to do is add. You do not add the denominators. It stays 4. That just transfers over. You only add your numerators. So 2 plus 1 equals 3. Look at that. So 3/4. And that cannot be reduced. There's, 3 is a prime number and 3 cannot go into 4. So there's the answer for the problem we started over here. Alright, the next, let me work up another problem. We're going to do 2/5 plus 1/3. Alright, so 5 and 3 are not the same. We need to add 2/5 to 1/3. And in order to do that, we have to find a common denominator. And to find the common denominator, we need to find the lowest common multiple. We can do this prime factoring. We already have prime factors though, so I don't have to do my little bracket thing like I did up here. We just take 5 and 3, and we multiply them, and we find out that 15 is going to be our denominator for both these numbers. So this problem is now going to change itself into, we'll find out here in a second, 2/5 needs to become some fraction with 15 on the bottom. What does it take to get 5 to turn into 15? Well, you have to multiply it by 3. And again, whatever you do to the bottom of a fraction, you must do to the top. So that turns into that, and the top turns into 6/15. Alright, now we're going to do the same thing with the third. 1/3 has to turn into a fraction that has 15 on the bottom. So in order to turn 3 into 15, you have to multiply it by 5. We're going to multiply the top by 5, and we're going to get 5/15. So now we've got our adjusted fractions that have the same denominator, because we have to have a common denominator. And we're going to go ahead and do our addition problem. And it's going to be 6/15 plus 5/15. And remember, you keep your denominator. You do not add it. It's not going to end up being 30. It's going to stay 15. You only add your numerators, and that's going to be 11. Once again, cannot be reduced. So that is the answer. Now subtraction, just the same thing. That is an ugly 4. Woo! Yeah, we'll do that. And then, okay, 1/2. Alright, these are both prime. I could have picked more, and I'll do a sadist version next, and do, like, you know, some extreme, you guys don't really need that probably, but simple. You can't prime factor 5 or 2. They're already prime, so you just, you know, 5 times 2 equals 10. Okay, so that's going to be your common denominator. I'm going to go ahead and do my adjustments. We have 4/5, and we need to turn it into a fraction that has 10 as a denominator. So what do you do to 5 to make it into 10? You multiply it by 2. And whatever you do to the bottom of your fraction, you have to do to the top. So 5 times 2 equals 10. 4 times 2 equals 8. So that is your first fraction you're going to be working with. The next fraction is going to be this 1/2 over here. So I'm going to take my 1/2, and I need to turn it into a fraction that has 10 on the bottom. What do I do to 2 to turn it into 10? I multiply it by 5, and I have to do the same thing to the top. So 2 times 5 equals 10, and 1 times 5 equals 5. Now we can go ahead and rewrite our subtraction problem with these two fractions that now share a denominator, a common denominator. That's the key. So 8, my battery in my tablet stylus is going. 8/10 minus 5/10 equals 3/10. And that is the solution for this original problem. Real simple. You know, this is one of those things that people get hung up on, they get freaked out, and a lot of people will try to add the denominators and make it, you know, 11/30, which is wrong. I've seen all sorts of weird stuff attempted with addition and subtraction of fractions. But there you go, that's the basic, and I'll go ahead and probably throw a more involved sadistic version of this up in a bit. If you have any questions, comments, complaints, critiques, want me to work out a problem, leave them in the comments section. I'm here to help you, and I hope I help somebody. If you need anything, just let me know through comments. Thank you, and have a great day.